Hello, and welcome to this edition of You and the Law. On You and the Law, I discuss issues of law affecting everyday living. In this edition of You and the Law, I'm discussing the fundamental right to compensation in the event of compulsory acquisition of someone's property. This is contained in Section 44 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and this is the last in the line of fundamental rights provided in the Constitution. I did say that there are 12 fundamental rights in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. This is number 12 of those rights that are in the Constitution. Now, this right simply means that my property should not be compulsorily acquired. My property should not be compulsorily taken possession of, by anybody, even by government. But if for a justifiable reason, my property is to be taken possession of by government or by anybody, then it should be such that I can claim adequate compensation for the compulsory takeover of my property. Now, we've seen a couple of instances where, for purpose of road expansion in the various states of the Federation, you've seen governments go to demolish houses, Now, your property has been taken over by government by way of demolition to give way for maybe a road, since for strange reasons we do not have a plan that can last for 100 years before expansion. So we see houses standing everywhere in most states of the Federation, and successive governments will always come and say, we want to expand this road, we want to make it bigger, and so on, and for that reason we're going to pull down this building, pull down that building, and so on. Well, government has the right to pull down and then do development, but the Constitution says that I have the right to be paid compensation in the event of that compulsory acquisition of my property. And so, if the compulsory acquisition is such that it doesn't give me the room to seek adequate compensation, then the law says that kind of practice, that kind of situation is wrongful, it's not acceptable to the law. But before I proceed, let's read briefly what the section of the Constitution clearly provides. Section 44, displayed here on the screen, says, no movable property or any interest in an immovable property shall be taken possession of compulsorily, and no right over or interest in any such property shall be acquired compulsorily in any part of Nigeria except in the manner and for the purposes prescribed by law, that among other things requires the prompt payment of compensation thereof. So as seen on the screen, as just read out, you can see clearly that everybody has a right to own immovable property or movable property in any part of the country. If for any reason the interest in the property is to be taken over, it has to be in such a way that the person whose property is being taken over can claim compensation, can be paid adequate compensation. And not just any kind of compensation, but adequate compensation to be able to take the person to where the person was before the demolition, and so, or before the compulsory takeover of the person's property. And so this is a fundamental right available to every Nigerian citizen and to every citizen of the world who has a property in Nigeria. Taking over the property, there must be compensation paid to the person if the takeover is to be done for public overriding public interest. There are many instances where people complain that the compensation is inadequate. The law says that anybody who complains must be given the opportunity to lodge the complaint, maybe in a court of law, in a tribunal, or any other appropriate authority for purpose of review of the compensation that is paid to him, to ensure that the compensation is adequate and can be able to fix him back to where he was. Thank you very much for watching this very episode of You and the Law. I do hope you've learned one or two things about your right, about my right to own property in any part of the country, and to ensure that I keep my rights intact. But for whatever reason, if the property is to be acquired for overriding public interest, compensation must be paid to me, must be paid to you, so that I can be put back to where I was, and so that you can also be put back to where to where you were before the compulsory acquisition. Thank you very much for watching. I do hope you continue to watch this channel. I do also hope that you continue to subscribe to the channel if you have not already subscribed, and you will continue to share the link to your friends and loved ones on all the social media platforms, so that together we can learn in a community of people learning law in the most informal ways to guide yourself in everyday activity in society. Thank you very much. I remain your host, Ikeminudim. I'm always glad to know that you are there watching.